Hello and welcome back to Friday Minis. Now, not too long ago in an earlier episode of Friday Minis, we took a look at straight cables versus cross cables, right? We saw an example using Ethernet cables and we learned that we had to cross cables so that the transmit pin correctly points to the receive pin of the other device. So that was one way in which devices communicated. They had to have two pins, one for transmission, one for actually receiving. Now, here's the deal. This sort of setup describes one particular kind of communication method, and that's what we're going to be discussing in greater depth today. In fact, that describes what we call a full-duplex communication mode. Here's the idea. There are these terms, simplex, half-duplex, and full-duplex, that basically say how two devices can communicate with each other. We've already seen how full-duplex works, and the idea is that at any given moment, these devices could both be transmitting and receiving. You could essentially have two streams of communication going both up and down simultaneously. And the reason for that was because we had one wire dedicated to one direction of communication. Of course, what that means is you could be shuffling bits on both at the same time and they would never clash. As it turns out, that is not the only way to connect multiple devices together. You see, another way that would be more economical in terms of cable use would be to have a half-duplex communication over just one wire. Here's the idea. These two devices are connected only by that one wire. Of course, since there is only one channel of communications, what this means is that the two devices have to take turns. That's the idea. When one device transmits, the other device just listens. It cannot actually send anything while the transmission is ongoing. Once the transmission is complete, a signal could be sent to switch things around. Now, the other device is the transmitter, and your original device becomes the receiver, and as a result, information flows the other way now. So you can imagine how these two devices have to share the bandwidth. Essentially, they're taking turns. This is what we call half-duplex. You can have bidirectional communications, but not at the same time. At first glance, this may seem rather unintuitive and inefficient, but as it turns out, it is indeed used in many cases when we want to cut down on the number of communication channels. In fact, older versions of USB, namely USB 1 and USB 2, well, they use half-duplex communication. That's one of the reasons why things were a little bit slower. Of course, there are many other factors that play into this, but yeah, that is one of the things that USB 3 changed. They actually have, dedicated lines for communications in both directions. Now, apart from these two terms, there is one other term, and that would be simplex. The idea is, well, in a simplex communication, there is only ever one direction of transmission. So think of this like radio in the traditional sense. The broadcast tower broadcasts, you can only receive and you can't send anything back. So yeah, that's the idea. Today we've seen the three different modes of communication: simplex, half-duplex, and full-duplex. That's all there is for this episode of Friday Minis. I hope you gained some insight today. But until next time, you're watching 0612 TV with NERDfirst.net. Thank you very much for watching. If you like my work and are feeling generous, you can shoot me a one-time donation on PayPal or sign up for a recurring one on Patreon. Of course, you can simply like, comment, and subscribe. You know the deal. For more videos, links to my channel and a related playlist are on screen. Thank you for your support.